Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Um, road trips are a part of every household's vacation. In order to travel from one place to another, we really heavily depend on our vehicles, mostly cars. Technology is progressing fast, and we can see that a lot of changes and new features come up quite often. Some of the interesting aspects of the automotive industry includes that it contributes to 35% of the manufacturing GDP. It offers employment to 35 million Indians, both directly and indirectly, and it contributes to 13% of the annual tax collection. Therefore, it is a very important sector and touches each one of us in our daily lives. So, I thought it is imperative for us to discuss about this sector. So, in order to understand how the sector works and the challenges that it faces, how COVID has impacted the business and the opportunities that the sector offers, we have with us VP and Head of Marketing and Sales at Kia India, Mr. Hardeep Singh Brar today. He brings over 2 decades of experience in the automotive sector with premier organizations such as Maruti Suzuki, Volkswagen, General Motors, Nissan, and Great Wall Motors, where he has worked on increasing responsibilities around sales, marketing, operation management, and network management, and has actively developed dealer networks and commercial functions. Hello, sir. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here
Thank
with us today.
thank you. Thanks.
Um, so, we see that to begin with, people of my generation are leveraging mobility through technology platforms such as Uber without having the need to invest in the purchase of a car or in the operational cost. How is the automobile sector bracing for this change and staying relevant at this time?
See, I think if you look at last 5 years, I think this mobility had gone up pretty well. It was growing at a very fast pace. But what happened due to COVID? It really slammed brakes on this whole the way mobility was changing. People were very used to going by Olas and Ubers, but ever since early to I would say early 2020, Jan of 2020, it has started to reduce because uh, safety has become the first priority for consumers, and because of the scare of COVID, people now want to travel in their own cars, and hence it is shifting back to buying personal cars, which people had, especially in metro towns, people had given up on buying cars. They were pretty they were pretty okay with the going by Olas and Ubers, but it is again bouncing back. I was talking to one of my friends. He said for the last 5 years he didn't own a car, but now he's thinking of buying a car. So it is slowly coming back to the original situation what we had. But once the situation comes back to normal, the COVID scare is over. I think people will start moving back to the ride sharing model. The only thing these companies like Ola and Uber they have to make sure is the cars are well sanitized and they are neat and clean. And I think the customer confidence will come back, but they have to do a lot of stuff on that side if they want to bring the business back to normal.
That's true. That's true. Um, sir, we see that there's an increased interest globally around smart and electric cars. With so much disruption happening around these cars, how do you see the future trends in regular automotive sector? And another part to this is, do you anticipate that every company will also have some offerings in their portfolio around these cars in the future?
See, smart has many connotations, while electric is very clear. Smart can be, connected cars. It can be some autonomous features in the cars, and yes, most of the companies are embracing that. The technical name for is autonomous is ADAS, and a lot of companies are adding these autonomous features. It varies from level 1 to level 5, and there are a few cars which already have level 1 autonomous features. There are cars which are connected, wherein you can speak to your car, give commands, and the car will operate based on your commands. So all the smart features, yes, people will embrace it very fast. Coming to electric cars, I think still India has a lot of things to catch up on. For example, the charging infrastructure is still one of the biggest challenges. The initial cost of the electric cars is still a big challenge because the equivalent electric car, which is equivalent to petrol or diesel, is almost twice the cost, and consumer thinks twice whether he should spend twice the amount on buying an electric car. Even in terms of choices in the marketplace. So while you may have over 100 models in petrol and diesel engines, but you have only about 4 or 5 electric cars in the marketplace. So the choices are really not there. And even the cars are on a slightly higher side. The cheapest electric car would start at about 10 lakhs, which and most of the people in India, they basically belong to less than 10 lakhs category. So even the price points do not really help the cause. Even the next point is about the driving range. The driving range about 300 kilometers it varies. The cars which we have in market, they vary from 150 to about 300 kilometers, which again is a challenge because that means you need to charge it very often. And also the charging time on a normal charger, it takes overnight charging, and if you want to go for fast chargers, they're very expensive. So there are a lot of challenges which one can see on the electric cars front, but I think government is pretty focused on that. Most of the manufacturers are investing in this space, so it will happen eventually, but I think it will take time. The projections are anywhere between 20 to 30% of the market by 2030, which means still not a big chunk. There are some of the developed countries like Norway, which are already selling close to 50%, more than 50% of the cars are electric vehicles, because there has been a lot of, it's a smaller country, very rich country. So the charging infrastructure has been put in place. There are a lot of tax benefits on the electric cars, and there are a lot of penalties on the petrol and diesel engine cars. So, which is why electric cars are more, closer to the price points are not very high versus the petrol and diesel engine cars. So it has become possible in those countries. I think it is possible here as well, but the pace would be relatively slow, seeing the current situation in India.
That's true. That's true. I agree. I think infrastructure is also something that plays a very important part in whether
Yeah,
this shift can be made easily and over a
yeah,
short period of time.
yeah, yeah,
Now, so looking at the long-term growth prospects of the Indian car market, when I researched, I saw that Kia plans to introduce new models and enhance their sales network and also ramp up production capacity to reduce the
yeah.
waiting period of the existing product range. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Um, uh, Kia is committed to the Indian market, so we'll be rolling out cars at regular intervals. So right now, we are focused on SUV, and we have a premium MPV, which is Carnival. So right now, we are looking at focusing on establishing these models in the market. They are doing pretty well, but we still have 4 months of waiting on these cars. Our first attempt is to reduce the waiting period on these cars, and then then look at launching the new models in future. So since this is a personal chat, I'll not be able to give you too many comments on what the future plans on Kia is. But yes, we are committed, and we'll be rolling out a lot of models in the coming years.
All right, all right. Thank you.
Yeah,
That sounds really exciting.
yeah,
Um, Now, with new consumers being very tech savvy, automakers are consistently introducing new models and newer technologies with improved fuel economy and reduced greenhouse gases. To maintain their competitive position in the market, as a consequence, unsold inventory has also increased. How do organizations actually manage to cut such costs and unsold inventory buildup?
um, uh, See, right now, a lot depends on government regulation on what kind of fuel is being used. So right now, one of the things which is going on is how we can increase the ethanol content in petrol. Right now, it is about 8 to 10%. How it can be increased to 20%, because some of the countries are even working on 50% plus ethanol in the petrol. So I think it depends on government regulations how quickly the fuel companies can can cope up with that. But it also requires a bit of changes in the engines as well, as the ethanol will keep going up in the petrol. So I think we need to look at the future roadmap, what how government wants to make it happen. But I think right now they want to increase the ethanol content in the petrol, as well as they want to go the electric cars way. There is a discussion which keeps on happening about hydrogen cars and
Yes.
solar, etc. But I think till there's a clear-cut policy, it's very difficult to say which way things will go. But right now, looking at the current trend, the increase in ethanol content in petrol and EVs seems to be clearly emerging trends.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, something that I actually did not know. I actually didn't even hear about, the ethanol content and increasing that
Yeah.
in actually the market. So it's something that's really interesting,
Yeah.
honestly. So if you look at statistics, the automotive industry contributes to 3% of the global GDP roughly. This is a major industrial and economic force worldwide. How has COVID-19 impacted the industry, and which customer segment now? There are obviously are purchases that are happening, but can you shed some light on which customer segment actually makes those purchases?
Uh, so um, so you have different kind of customers. You have professionals like chartered accountants, lawyers, doctors, teachers, who are large buyers. Then of course the salaried class people who work in corporates and government jobs, they are big buyers. When you get into slightly luxury cars, you have big businessmen who are buying these luxury cars above 10 lakhs and all of that. And then you have small traders and small and medium enterprises which purchases cars overall. But when you look at the segment which get impacted the most, because the salaried class continues to get their salaries, but of course there are job losses there as well. But the business class gets impacted because the cash flows, when there are no transactions happening during this period, they have expenses which continue to be there on their books, but the revenues suddenly dry out. So they really get impacted in times like these. But fortunately, after the first COVID wave, the bounce back was pretty strong. And some of the MSMEs bounced back very well because the demand was far more than supplies. And hence they got good margins. But they are the one which get disrupted the most, and hence they are the ones who step back from these fresh purchases. So that's broadly the ecosystem or the customer segments where the cars are being sold.
All right. Any particular impacts that the industry faced due to COVID? Not necessarily on the purchase, but also any other parts.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So, any other impacts that COVID had on the industry now? So, if I talk about now, we talk about impacts on the industry. So, was there any
All
disruption
right.
to the supply chains
Uh,
across the
yeah,
industry?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I think because of the higher demand and lesser supplies, I think the steel prices and a lot of commodity prices have gone up. So basically, the input raw material cost has gone up, and you will see that the car prices have gone up by almost 10% over last year and a half. And also on the other side, the semiconductor chips has been majorly disrupted, and that is also not helping the cause. That is really disrupting the overall production cycle. So yes, the COVID wave has really impacted all these parameters, which is ultimately increasing, is not helping the supply side. And when demand is more than supply, and the commodity prices are going up, the prices do go up. On the other side, when the supply is short, even the discounts in the market, they disappear. So net 10 to 15% is the net impact of both the factors put together.
All right. So, because of this, how do you see the supply chains and business models evolving post-COVID? What do you see car companies are going to be more paying more attention on after COVID, and what is going to be the focus of these business models now?
Yeah, so one has to look at these areas. Maybe some of the manufacturers may start thinking of how can they produce some of these components which are in short supply. For example, semiconductor chips or some other materials, which or they may look at some alternate vendors as well. Um so these are few of the things which they may be contemplating, but creating a vendor base is not an easy job. But these are some of the thoughts which will come to their mind, that how in future, if the disruption happens, how can they make sure that there is no issue on supplies, whether having better contracts with the vendors or getting into production of some of these components on their own. I mean, that's a very initial assessment that I have. I think we'll get to see how it evolves over a period of time.
All right, all right. Makes a lot of sense. Now, so we see electrification, hybridization, and downspeeding are the technology routes that have mushroomed in the last decade. The emission of carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, and hydrocarbons are the main drivers of these technology changes. So, how do you see this affecting the environment, and what are the regulators and firms in the industry trying to do about this problem?
Um See, I think the cafe norms which are being which are regulated by government. I think government is getting more stringent on that, and there are only two ways today that you can really fight with. You can adhere with those norms. The first one is how you increase the ethanol, because that helps in reduction of some of the pollutants, and electric vehicles definitely help in reducing the overall emissions. And these are the two factors which will help going forward in really meeting the cafe norms which are being prescribed by the government.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
The advent of connected technologies is one of the biggest challenges the automotive
Yeah.
industry is facing presently, right? With every functionality in automobiles becoming data driven, digitization is becoming rather a commonplace in vehicles. How do you
Yeah.
see this impacting the future of the automotive industry?
Uh, See, I spoke about COVID earlier, and people are now preferring, not preferring, earlier people used to come to showrooms. They want people, the sales consultants to come to their homes to explain things. I think with COVID, people are now more wary of, contacting people and going to showrooms. So, digitization is playing a very big role. So we have recently connected a, Digi Connect, wherein we are contacting people uh, on in a virtual world, and we can also explain to them what are the features. We can show them videos. In fact, if you want your family members to join from different locations, they can also become part of that discussion. So it is becoming more virtual, and which is easier, because earlier a lot of time used to get wasted in traveling. I think that will bring in a lot of efficiencies in the overall system. So I think digitization, and it has broken the myth that you can't have the business sitting at virtual places, because it's happening very beautifully and very seamlessly. So I think the shock which COVID has given, I think this is very good for digitization, and all of us are getting benefited, right? And in terms of connected cars, also uh, uh, you are getting more and more features wherein you can talk to your car, you can open your sunroof, open your windows, and even sitting at home, I know what is the status of my car, whether the air conditioner is on, whether I've forgotten to lock my car. And even if I'm going for a big event, I know where my car location is, so I'm always connected to my car. And in future, I also see that when your car is about to where there's going to be wear and tear, there are going to be alerts on your phone that if your disc pads are going to wear out, or if your tire is punctured. So I think car is now practically talking to you, and all these features are really helping the consumer. Now car is no more a car; it's more like a member of the family who's talking to you
Yes,
as well. So
yes,
yeah,
that's true. There are a lot of technology changes I see that are actually taking place.
yeah,
It actually sometimes really feels surreal, because there are so many new features you can actually dictate Now there's a voice control that literally you can sit at home and your car can be parked and you can still control certain features
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's really surreal. It's really amazing to see that.
Yeah.
So with India expect to become the third biggest market by 2026, the government and policymakers and regulators have an important role in creating a healthy ecosystem of growth in for the automobile industry. What will be your wish list from the policymakers and the regulators?
Um, I think uh, there are a couple of challenges that I see in. So while one thing is certain that India will definitely become the third largest market, I think earlier it was pegged to become number three by 2020 or 2022. Now it has been pushed back. And of course, COVID was one of the biggest challenges, which really pulled us back by a couple of years because there has been no growth. We have practically, we haven't hit 2018, 2019 volumes to now. So we are already behind by almost 3 years. But a couple of challenges that I see. First one is the infrastructure, because if you look at all the metros, they are very crowded. While people want to buy cars, there is no car place for parking. There is no place on the roads to drive, and government is suggesting carpooling. So when a situation is like that, it is definitely a deterrent for the car industry.
Yeah.
The second big factor is, the way fuel prices are going up. The petrol and diesel prices are almost touching 100. That also impacts the car buying pattern.
Yes.
The number three factor is the tax rates on the cars. The tax rates on the cars, they vary from 30% to 50%, which is one of the highest in the world, and that makes your car pricing. So if your car pricing is higher, your running cost gets more expensive. That uh, the demand does get impacted with all these factors. And of course, then you don't have the road infrastructure to really run your cars on. So all these factors put together, they become a deterrent. And I think if all the factors are being worked on simultaneously, it surely can give a big boost to the automotive industry.
All right. So the last question that I have is actually looking at the current situation. We see that the fuel prices have increased by a lot, and there's a continuous and sustained growth in these fuel prices. Do you think they in any way have impacted your sales, or uh, how any way that has impacted the industry or your company as such?
Uh, so while we operate in a different segment, but it does impact people. So if there was no COVID, the impact would have been far more, because now there is a COVID. People want to buy cars because they don't want to travel in
Yes.
a car which is shared by others because of the safety reasons. So that is kind of nullifying the impact of increase in fuel and fuel prices. But long run, it does impact, because you look at your running cost, and if tomorrow ride sharing companies come back and say, we are safe, and people start going back because of the increased fuel pricing, while their rates would go up versus what they have now. But again, it will start making sense, and people may, again start going back to that. So there is an impact. To quantify that impact is not easy, because there are a number of factors which play into purchasing of cars. But whenever there's an opportunity in a situation like this, you don't take out your car, you avoid traveling by car, and reduce the number of trips, because fuel is expensive. And if your car is not running much, your replacement cycles will get impacted. If you're replacing cars today, in 4 years, if you don't run your car too much, you will replace your car after 5 years. And hence, every year of increase in replacement cycle ultimately impacts the demand. So, there are a lot of direct and indirect way which really impacts the car demand. That is very certain. To quantify the impact is very difficult.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this, we come to the end of our session. Just no,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being a part of this initiative and this podcast. I actually gained certain insight that really made me think about the future of this industry as well. Like you spoke about the ethanol content in petrol. That's something I didn't even hear of, but now I have some knowledge on, and then I would like to also know about it. It was really amazing to have you here. Thank you so much. Lastly, before we end it, is there anything you would like to say to the viewers as sort of an end note?
Um, uh, I think I would only say stay safe in COVID times and drive safe. Safety is one of the most important things, and things are becoming uncertain because of this. So try to be safe in every which way, whether at home or you're driving your car. Safety is the foremost. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Gurjot, for having me over, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. And for everyone,
Thank
thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot. And thank you for your support and taking out time to watch this video. And so please take care and everyone also and stay safe. And thank you so much for being a part of this.
thank, thank you, Gurjot. All the best. Thank you.